this course's course materials page, and this is another page that just kind of gives you an outline of the modules within the course. And I'm not actually going to click on these modules, but behind these links here, there are some more modules that you can kind of go through within this Blackboard course. So this course, as it looks in Sakai then, is something that I'll show you first. This thing called the course information. This is in fact the Sakai syllabus tool. And so we decided, well, this course information really looks like it kind of belongs in that Sakai syllabus tool, and so that's where we're going to put it. We renamed the tool here, of course. So this, compared to the content as it exists in Blackboard, is fairly similar. But as you can see, I mean, the layout looks a little bit different, and the colors and the icons look a little bit different. We have moved the course materials content. Now, that's just content that exists in a Blackboard content area into the Sakai CLE modules or lessons tool. And so essentially the users can go through the lessons. I will click on one of them. We'll wait for my internet to catch up here. Oh, good. This isn't showing too much information. But so we basically moved the content areas into the lessons tool in this particular example. Now, this is just one option. So migrating from Blackboard does not have to look like this. In fact, the 5 examples that we have show different methods of content placement. So we've talked about a couple of stories. We've seen a migrated Blackboard course. Now we should talk about some of the tools that exist for migration into Sakai from various systems. So the rSmart Sakai CLE has a Blackboard zip file import function. I don't know if any of you have seen a Blackboard zip file, but it looks something like this. And it's got some files within it, and these little .dat files and all these directories and so forth. And this is where all the content exists. And so if you were to just download the Blackboard zip file from Blackboard and try and use it for teaching and learning in some other system, you're not really going to be able to do that unless you have something that can understand the format that Blackboard put their content in and figure out how to just make that work, either in Sakai or in some other place. So there are, in fact, actually 2 tools that exist today that can actually parse that Blackboard data. One of those tools exists in the rSmart Sakai CLE. It's within the site editor, and in order to use it or try it, you can select the import from file function. That will allow you to import a Blackboard export into Sakai. That will actually parse the Blackboard content. It'll parse your tests and quizzes, and it'll parse the announcements. By parsing, it's kind of a technical word. It basically just means look at the format that Blackboard has saved its content in and figure out in some plain language what it actually means and where that content is supposed to go. So that's an option. That'll get you partway there. The rest of the work then involves the people who own that content figuring out the best way to make it present or render in Sakai. We'll get to that in a little bit. Another tool that rSmart has written for WebCT 6 is basically a tool that will take a WebCT 6 course and move the assignments, the gradebook columns, the tests and quizzes, and I forgot to, oh wait, I did add the file manager, and the file manager content into Sakai. So I don't know if any of you have seen a WebCT export. In fact, I don't know if you can even export from WebCT 6. I think what I have is a .bak file from a WebCT 4 export. But trying to figure out what to do with that is sometimes a little bit troublesome. So we've actually got some WebCT 6 tools built into the Sakai CLE. Some time ago, the University of New England and Rutgers, kind of independently of one another, both built tools that would help move content from WebCT 4.1 into Sakai. So the UNE tool that was built for Sakai can move like learning modules content. It can move tests and quizzes, and I think it can move assignments. I'm not quite sure about that last one, but it can move that content from WebCT 4.1 into Sakai. And the Rutgers tools are called WebCT to Samigo. Samigo is the Sakai word for tests and quizzes. And WebCT to Mileti. Mileti is the word for the Sakai lessons tool. This is all developer talk that you just end up getting to know once you start using Sakai. But Rutgers built tools that will allow you to export tests and quizzes from WebCT and put them through this sort of tool that kind of translates what those questions are and allows you to put them into Sakai. And the same thing is true for the learning modules that exist in WebCT. Of course, what I've seen from a lot of folks when they upload content into WebCT, it is sometimes quite self-contained, and so in fact folks don't actually seem to use that learning modules tool that much. They're just building HTML and uploading it into WebCT, and that's the best kind of content to migrate into Sakai, because if you've got self-contained HTML, you can just move all that stuff right into Sakai resources, and then basically your only next task is to figure out whether to use like a web content window or maybe the lessons tool to re-render that stuff. So as I said, sometimes you can download your files from your legacy system, and you can upload them into Sakai. There are ways to use a WebDAV connection on your own computer for really easy dragging and dropping of your self-contained HTML content or your PDFs or whatever. There's also another tool that exists. This is not an open source tool, but it's called Respondus. I know some of you on the call have actually used this before and discussed it with me. But Respondus is a tool that, well, Respondus as a company provides many things, but one of the things it provides is a tool that allows you to author and publish tests and quizzes. And it's really cool because you can use this Respondus tool to actually connect to your Blackboard or to your WebCT, and it, in effect, sucks your tests out of Blackboard or WebCT and allows you to put them in a format that Sakai can understand. And so it's kind of like a 3 or 4 step process where you pull your stuff out of WebCT or Blackboard and you put it into Respondus, and then you get it into Sakai. And this is all something that can be done at the user level. So I guess that kind of touches on another point that I touched on earlier, which is there's some IT or technology involved in moving content from one system to another, but there also has to be instructor or faculty member or course owner involvement as well. So sometimes figuring out where IT's job is done and faculty members start working is hard, but that's also part of the project and setting proper expectations with regard to migration. So these are, again, some of the tools that you can use to move content from other systems into Sakai. What we've also seen some schools do is just manually move their content. We've had clients who have had systems for years, and those systems tend to get really cluttered. And we see this a lot when folks who have migrated successfully into Sakai give presentations at Sakai conferences. It's funny because they all use different technology. You know, Rutgers uses their tool, and UNE uses their tool, and somebody else may have used another tool to kind of do the IT part of moving the content. But the successful migration presentations describe what I call the same story, which is that once you have moved the content as best as you can from a technology perspective, you still have to manage expectations with the faculty members and show them how to use Sakai and re-render their content so that it looks okay to them. So, right, I launched into my next slide without actually switching to it. So here we have, again, just reiterating that it's important to set the expectation with their faculty that they are going to have to do some work. Now, for those faculty members who are not very comfortable with using computers and the Internet, I've seen some schools that just kind of have the IT department or have an instructional designer really kind of take over for those individuals. But what you'll eventually start to get